Hi, I'm Hassan, the lecturer here at the Institute of Medical Education, and today we're going to take a look at solutions to Section 3 of ACE's GAMSAT Green Booklet, Practice Test 1, specifically Unit 26, questions 79 to 82. And in this unit, we're told about sleeping sickness, a disease that's endemic in Africa that's caused by the parasite called trypanosomes. So what we're shown in this unit is a figure, so figure 1 with the agglutination titer on the y-axis, and day of plasma collection on the x-axis. Now, the trick here is that you have to understand that those lines represent the whole blood collected on certain days of the rabbits that were infected with trypanosomes, and they were mixed with the plasma samples at those specific days that were collected. So that's what we have to wrap our head around. So also important to note that the agglutination titer, so what that is the degree of reaction between antibodies in the plasma of the rabbit and antigens on the surface of the trypanosomes. So it's important to note that antibodies are produced by, say, specialized cells of the host immune system, so that's, say, the rabbit, or say us, in response to the exposure to the foreign antigens, which is obviously produced by the trypanosomes. So that's something important to know. So if we're looking at the agglutination titer, what it's telling us is the antibody reaction. So if you're going to have a high agglutination titer, it means that we're going to have a high antibody reaction. So if we take a look then at question 79, it says the antibody to trypanosomes most likely first appeared in rabbit blood on what day? So if we take a look at the graph, let's just trace the x-axis. We can see that we start seeing an antibody reaction at the 7th day. So since we can see the agglutination titer is going up at the 7th day, so therefore the answer for 79 has to be D, 7 days. So don't get confused with the numbers on the lines. That's just when we're mixing in the white blood count that contains the trypanosomes into the rabbit plasma on a certain days. But what we're seeing here is at day 7 is when we're seeing this antibody agglutination titer increase. So the answer for 79, therefore, is going to be D. So if you move on to question 78, it's similar principle. It says figure 1 indicates that on day 15, the rabbit had the greatest immunity against. So if we go up to, again, let's go to figure 1, day 15. So if we trace on that graph, so let's look at the line. So if it's going to have the greatest immunity, that means we're going to have the greatest agglutination titer, which means we have the most antibodies. So if we go to day 15 and we trace up, so on the x-axis day 15 and we trace up, we see that is day 4. So the answer for question 80 has to be B. And day 4 corresponds with a agglutination titer of around, let's say, 4 to 5,000, whatever the unit is. So it's the highest one for day 15. So question 80 is going to be B. So if we take a look now at question 81, it says the reaction between day 3 trypanosomes and the plasma collected from the rabbits on progressive days, say from 7 to 9, increased because. So this is important to note. So if we're using day 3 trypanosomes, that means the antigen number is fixed. We haven't changed the antigen number because we're using trypanosomes collected from day 3, which means we have a certain amount of antigen. It's not going to increase, it's not going to decrease. So we've got an X amount of trypanosomes. So let's say it's 10. So it's not going to change. So the options say the level of rabbit plasma antigen increase. That's incorrect because we're using day 3 trypanosomes. So it's fixed value, so A is incorrect. So A is incorrect. B says trypanosomes increasingly produced more antibody. So question 81, that's incorrect. Trypanosomes don't produce antibody. The rabbit, so that's the host, produces antibody. So trypanosomes are the ones that produce the antigens. So 81 is B is incorrect. C says the level of antigen on day 3 trypanosomes increased. So again, A is incorrect because rabbit doesn't produce antigen and it's not going to increase anyway. Rabbits produce the antibody. And C is incorrect because the antigen again did not increase because it's a fixed amount. We collected day 3 antigen, so it's, say, number 10. It hasn't changed. So the answer C is incorrect. So the most likely reason why we're seeing that increase in the graph, remember the agglutination titer. The agglutination titer represents the antibodies produced by the rabbit against the antigen. So therefore, 81 has to be D because antibody against trypanosomes increased in rabbit's blood in response to this antigen. So the antigen is fixed, but the antibody count increases over time in response to this antigen. So the answer has to be D. So now if we move on to the final question, question 82, it states, according to all the evidence provided, so obviously what's in the stimulus or what's in the unit, which of the following best explains the alternation between, so we're told in the unit there's this alternation between severe and mild symptoms of sleeping sickness. So what's the most likely reason? So if we take a look at 82A, it says the rabbit's immune system is damaged by trypanosomes. So look, if the rabbit's immune system was damaged by trypanosomes, you wouldn't get a fluctuation between mild and high or severe sleep sickness. You'd be actually getting just severe sleeping sickness symptoms. So that's why A is incorrect. So B says trypanosomes evolved to become resistant to antibiotics and used against them. There's no mention of antibiotics in this experiment or with the rabbits. Or I guess in humans, there's no mention in the unit about antibiotics, and these are parasites. I don't even know if antibiotics would work on parasites. I mean, I don't know. You can fact check me if you like. But the answer B is incorrect because again, there is no mention of this in the stimulus. So if we jump just quickly to D, D is also incorrect because it says when ill, the victim of sleeping sickness is periodically infected by new pathogens. Again, just like B, it's not provided in the stimulus. We're not told if there's a new pathogen introduced into the system, and we're not told if there's other infections. So the answer for D, incorrect. So therefore, the answer has to be C because the antigens on the trypanosomes in the rabbit's blood are changing from time to time. Because remember, if you have a small amount of antigen, you're going to get a smaller antibody production, which means you're going to get, I guess, milder symptoms. Whereas if you have more antigen from the trypanosomes, you're going to have a greater antibody production and greater reaction, which means you're going to have more severe symptoms. So the answer is C. So if you're still having trouble with trying to decipher and analyze the graph, you can post your queries and your comments in the comment section below, or you can contact us directly. We'd love to help. Thanks for your time. Bye now.